So welcome to another episode of the Gyms podcast, and we've got another one with a divisional franchisor, which is Cam Scott. So Cam, you've been with Gyms for many years and doing a bunch of different things, and we're going to interview you today as the divisional franchisor for Gyms Electrical. So Cam, do you want to just first start off with introducing yourself and how long and how you've been involved with the Gyms group?
Yeah, thanks, Joel. Great to be here. Look, been with Gyms coming up 18 years in December. So I started off with the antenna division and still have a role in that. And then we could see a growing need to have electricians around the services we were already providing. So that sort of evolved and Jim backed us to be able to grow a division, which we've been able to do.
And I've interviewed a lot of your boys and they're very happy. And I think this division can be a lot bigger just because I think you make it so much easier running a business than they would as an independent, which is the sense that I got from interviewing your franchisees. So you want to just talk about the franchise offering for an electrical, maybe just outline some reasons why, if they are currently doing it as an indie or a subby, why this could be a good option for them.
Yeah, so in terms of dollars to get in, franchises to purchase around 15 grand, and then we've got about $10,000 setup costs in that. So you're in for about 25 grand. Bringing tools and obviously a vehicle is typically the startup. The guys do get off to a flying start. There's no question already work coming in through our marketing and advertising and so forth, and the Gyms brand obviously. Taken us a few years to get some market acceptance, but we've managed to do that fairly quickly, and it never feels as it's happening as quickly as you'd like it, but look, our Google reviews are elite. Product reviews are amazing. So
you're the best in the category. Sorry to interrupt you there, but I want to point out for people.
Thank you.
Electrical is the best in category electrician on product review, which is not an easy award to get.
No, thank you. Look, the guys are a great group. Technically coming to us with some great expertise, and they do find being an independent sometimes quite challenging. All right, they're fantastic tradesmen, and that's what we want in the team is great tradies. And then we add to that some good communication skills, some good diary management, and obviously some great marketing and advertising. When we put all that together, we can take an independent guy from maybe an $8,000 to $10,000 a month turnover to probably more than doubling that typically. So there's guys in the team that do a lot more than that, but that's about where we start.
Yeah, because I just want to hit on that point because I think I've interviewed your guys and they've tried it as an independent, and the marketing costs alone with Google ads, and they just, unfortunately, if they don't get to the right agency or they're trying it themselves, the amount of money they were spending on Google ads prior to coming to Gyms, I thought was quite remarkable, and how little they were getting from that spend as well. And they come into Gyms, and not only do you do the marketing for them, you get all this other stuff for far cheaper. It's just a no-brainer deal from my perspective anyway, from interviewing guys.
In a lot of cases it is.
Yeah.
It's certainly brutal trying to get into the Google space or the online space and being consistent with it. That's the real challenge when you're a good tradesman. Hopefully you're going to be reasonably busy, but finding that time outside of working hours to either pay an agency to do it or do it yourself. And sometimes in the smaller independent guys, that'll come back to perhaps their partner or themselves, and it needs to be full time. It really does in this day and age. And look, we're pretty well resourced. We've got 3 people in our marketing team just internally, and then obviously we've got the backing of the Gyms brand and resources like yourself and so forth. So that really helps all of our guys when they come on board to get off to a flying start.
And with with independents, what's the hesitation from their side? Because it's, for me, like objectively looking at it, right, just some marketing costs, knowing what they have to pay to generate an independent lead compared to what you offer, which is way cheaper. Is it just because they want to still have an identity as an independent and don't want to come under the brand, or what's the thing that actually stops them?
Generally, that's exactly it,
right.
Is just being proud of their own business and where they've got to, whether they're 6 months in or 5 years in. It is just getting over that step of giving up what they've started.
Yeah.
But in actual fact, they're actually not doing that. They're actually taking their existing client base and dealing with them still. They'll just be in a bigger brand that supports them, particularly with new clients and new leads. So if they can get their head around that, and that's really the biggest step. They're still essentially their own business. And go on to greatness if you're prepared to back our brand.
Exactly, and you're going to turn over more likely, and you're going to have a reduced cost of what you were paying before with marketing. Plus, you get other benefits. So, do you want to just outline, besides just the lead gen side, what are the other benefits included?
Yeah, look. The benefits are having a team around you, and being an independent at times can be a tough day. 4 or 5 new customers if you've had a good day dealing with them, and maybe those transactions haven't gone to plan. But we've got a team of guys that you can bring in as labour. We have team meetings with the guys, and that involves safety updates, preferred supplier arrangements, just chatting with the guys over a meal, maybe a steak or a beer, depending on what we're doing. And occasionally we do some recreational stuff together as well, golf days, etc. So there's a whole bunch of other benefits that run into it. It's probably a little bit of that mental health space, but we're just having some fun together.
Well, I think the big thing as well, I was from speaking to some of your guys, was they can leave their work day just doing the work day. They don't have to worry about that out of hour stuff. For a lot of the guys who are the independents, they have to do the work day, then they come home, they have to do the billing and all these things, and it's not really, there's no work-life balance.
Yeah.
Whereas the guys I've interviewed with, from your franchisees, they instantly say they have work-life balance again.
Yeah, I guess they've got permission to be able to switch off from the work and let other guys in the team take the work if they don't want to take it. So that allows that to happen with work-life balance for sure. We have got a bunch of guys in the team at the moment, probably 28 through to 40 years of age, most of them. So typically they've got young family and a partner that's working or not working, depending on what stage they're at. So they do get to enjoy all of that. Certainly getting to sports days and certainly getting to Christmas time off and annual leave and holidays when they choose.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of flexibility in all of that. So yeah, they do enjoy that once they get in, and once they come to a couple of team meetings, meet the other guys in the group, and we have got some ripping blokes across the country in the group, that's for sure. And
training-wise, what's the components? So they've already got an independent business, they might be doing something else. So what's the training component like for them?
Yeah, training component varies from guy to guy as they come in. Some guys have been self-employed for 30 years. And they need some help with marketing or IT, maybe some communication. Some of the guys do need a bit more than that. Perhaps their industry background has been a bit limited or restricted. So we might need to get them a bit friendlier in the domestic space rather than, if they come from mining or industry or bigger industries. So we're able to do that. They can have days on the road with other guys in the group, in the team, and see how they operate, and that helps them with perhaps just diary management, communication with clients, day-to-day behaviour, turning up on time, which is obviously expected, and our guys do that very well. The survey information we get back is elite. So once they're in it, they get a bit of experience and a bit of training around those points. Then they tend to relax a little bit, get into it, and we see them prosper so often. And that's the real reward, is watching guys turn, a little business that might be a bit edgy and a bit fledging into something really quite robust over time. And one of the guys, even here in Melbourne, we know when he started, he was contracting to the tune of about $7,000 or $8,000 a month, and things were tough. There's no question. And monetary concerns create other issues in life. But he's now turning over regularly $24,000, $28,000 a month, growing the business to put on an apprentice, loving life. Things are good, revenue's solid, annual leave and holidays are a regular thing. Whereas, 4 years ago before he joined the team, wasn't so much.
Was that Matt?
No, Matty's just he's just another high energy guy. This guy was John.
Okay.
Yeah, Matt comes from a pretty good communication background. That's why he's a bit of a flyer.
Well, I'm going to mention Matt because we did the day on the road with Matt. Matt's actually been on the podcast, and Matt's at the family day, all that sort of stuff. And the reason why I mention that, because I've speak to a lot of franchisees, and he always sticks in my memory because I remember him training, and his family was saying, "Don't do gyms; it's a scam," and all that sort of stuff. He's saying, "Don't listen to people." It's just, and he's just so happy that he made the change, because all the stuff you're saying before, like financially struggling with the mortgage and all the after-hours stuff, and he just was not happy at all doing what he was doing. His change has been amazing. Yeah, so we're in a position to support that and just talk it through, like perhaps a mentor, but really just a teammate. Yeah. And able to chat to guys, whether it's about personal finances or family situations, and just give them some supportive advice, and what they do with that's up to them. But
Matty's a high energy guy and loves servicing clients, and the feedback on Matty with our surveys is elite. He's a guy that's been able to be not taking leads within probably 2 years, or very few leads, just because he's an infectious guy. People like his enthusiasm. They buy his enthusiasm. He does a great job, builds referral work from that. So that's really what we want long term, because that brings down any franchise fees that they're paying. Yep. They become less. And Matty's a great example of that. But we're lucky enough to have a number of guys in the group that are like Matt. They're good communicators. They turn up on time. They can manage their diaries well, and they want to deliver.
We've got a whole bunch of YouTube interviews coming out soon with all the Sparky guys. I think we've got around 8 or 9. So check them out. If you don't just believe us, hear from the franchisees. They're not all edited. And there's a day in the road with Matt, which I will say check out too, because I think it's really informative. And I was going to say then as well, what other questions are you getting from Sparkies before coming into gyms? What are some common questions that you maybe want to address?
Yeah, the common one is, what level of work will I walk into? And generally, we're not really meant to provide that information against the franchising code, but typically our guys will generate 40 to 50 new leads every month if that's what they want,
which is amazing.
Look, it is a good number, and you can make a good living out of that and build a business quickly. So that's one of the big pluses. Some of the guys take more than that. But hopefully, some of the guys can take less as well. Depends on where they've come from in terms of the size of their business.
Now, if you're an independent and you're not generating 40 to 50 leads a month, which if you are, fantastic, but I presume a lot of them won't be.
No.
I think just from a lead gen side, it's such a no-brainer.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty simple. Come in. Generally, the first issue we need to work through is getting them to switch off and being booked out for 3 or 4 or 5 days. And getting them to actually switch the work off so they can service that work at a good level, and then switching back on and trying to build their trust in the system of delivering leads as opposed to what they're used to. And that's just, when's the next job, when's the next job, when's the next job. That we just don't really have to deal with that day to day here.
And I was going to say as well, does Jim take 50% of the money, or how does that work?
Thankfully not. No. Everything that the guys invoice is theirs. The customer pays them direct. It goes into their account. There's no commissions to pay on any of that. And, that's what makes this system so great. The franchisors have to do the work to generate the leads to make sure the franchisees are busy. The franchisees don't have to take those leads. They can generate their own work as well. So, for $650 a month, as an advertising contribution that all the guys pay, that's a pretty good return for 40 or 50 leads a month. But as I said, some guys take a lot more.
Yeah, the reason why I asked is just because there's so much crazy stuff online with gyms, and people say gym takes 40% of every job and 30% all this crazy stuff. So we've got to try and keep addressing it. That's clearly not the case.
No, definitely not the case. No, Jim supports us really well, but doesn't take the money. So. We do have to attend to a few comments online from time to time and to sort of reassure guys that's not the case. But
I think it's just unfortunately franchising in general just gets that bad rap, and we're a flat fee model, which we've got to keep hammering home with people.
Yeah, it's a real shame in Australia that franchising does cop some of the stigma that there is. I mean, there's some poor cases around outside of gyms and so forth, but the code of conduct and the rules and obligations that we've got as franchisors in this country make the system really robust. And Jim talks about it regularly about how successful people are in franchise businesses compared to being independent. And based on the rules and regulations that we have to comply with, I'm not surprised.
And also, as a prospect, you've got the opportunity to call up and inquire with Cam, and you've got a disclosure document which you have to provide.
Yeah.
And it has a list of all the current and the former franchisees. We in gyms actively encourage you to call them.
Yeah, absolutely. Give them a call, have a ride-along day or two. Go and have a real good look at how an individual guy in our team operates. They're allowed to chat and provide all the information that you want.
There's no NDAs, nothing like that. And I think that's massively important, because I've been looking at other franchise brands. There's NDAs, sometimes there's a deposit charge. Like it's ridiculous compared to what we do.
No, just go and enjoy the company of another tradesman for the day and fire some questions at them that they're free to answer as they see fit.
And it's a pretty quick turnaround time of your franchise, because essentially, you can, if you've got an independent business already, you got your, you inquire, you've got to do the 3-day basic training here, but then after that, you're pretty much can be ready to go, or how's it sort of look?
Got to wait for a couple of weeks for the documents and so forth. We generally need 3 or 4 weeks to get someone set up with uniforms and tech and so forth, and then we can have them inducted pretty quickly, and then we talk to them very regularly. For instance, we've had a guy start last week. We probably had 7 conversations in 4 working days.
Yeah,
we know where they're at in terms of incoming work conversion, etc. So we're able to then work on those things maybe after hours with a Zoom call or something, and just help them through any issues they've had on that day or the day before to make them better for the next day.
Income's always a big one with prospects online. How much will I make? So, how do you address that question with prospects? And is there an income guarantee in place, or what's it called in gyms?
Yeah, we have the pay for work guarantee, as all the gyms divisions do. Ours is $2,000 per week. To this stage, after 17 years, there hasn't essentially been a claim made, typically because as an electrician you're going to come in and turn over more than $2,000 a week typically. So that's a great thing. We generally are looking for guys to turn over kind of as a minimum $3,500 or $4,000 a week, but typically in that $5,000 to $7,000 a week. So the pay for work guarantee is there as a support mechanism, and it's a fantastic mechanism, but not something that typically an electrical franchisee needs to even.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be the one of the services that would really need to ever be interesting. I don't think you'd ever have to pay it. And I was going to say as well, with the franchise itself, you mentioned how much it costs before. Does that have to be paid up front, or is there instalments, or how can that work?
Yeah, no, Joel, we can do an instalment plan. $12,000 of that can be put across 24 months, interest free. Just invoiced with your monthly fees, and we make that pretty simple. Probably 70% of new team members take that option up, and we're happy with that.
Yeah,
that's a good deal.
And I was going to say as well, now a lot of the guys you're talking to are probably independent sparkies with signage and vehicles, and is it something that they can keep and just take the leads, or do they have to fully rebrand, or how does that sort of work?
Yeah, certainly need to be the gym's brand. There's massive upside in that once they're on board. It's just a far greater recognised brand.
Yeah.
And that just helps with conversion of leads and jobs, etc. And community expectation and standards are higher based on our brand, right? So, yeah, they do need to re-sign a vehicle, have the uniform, etc. But it's their business to operate how they see fit. Charge out rates can be as they see fit. We give some guidance around that, around pricing. But ultimately, the franchisee has the flexibility to charge, what they want and as they see fit.
And they're good-looking vehicles. I've seen a few of the vehicles fit out. They stand out like anything.
Yeah, they do.
It's memorable. And no offence to independent businesses, but you're highly likely not to have a memorable brand or logo that people will know. So the gym's one is very memorable, and they look great.
Yeah, look, lots of guys when they've joined have given us that feedback, that they had their own signage and they did a really good job of it, but it just didn't have the cut through that we do. And the commentary we get from guys on the team often is, just pulling up at a service station, people trust the brand, they talk to them, they get the work and follow them home and do the job. It's that convenient.
I've heard that before, where people, they follow them home sometimes, or they'll stop in if they see the car at the front. I don't never really hear that for any independent sort of businesses. I think that built-in trust as well. And when you come in at 2025, which we're doing this interview now, you're getting all that years and years of goodwill that's been built up with all the gyms divisions.
Yep.
And you're coming into a brand which is always going to get stronger and stronger and stronger due to the volume of work that we do every year. And I think we don't harp on that enough. But when you buy that brand, part of that brand there, I think you get it's just that trust and reputation that you're just going to constantly get.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. That is ongoing feedback that we get. Guys generally in the first few weeks will give us feedback about there's so much more trust from a client.
Yes,
that's a big one and tough for us to measure that internally. But when new guys come on board, that's the feedback that they give us, and lead volume and lead quality they talk about a lot being higher. So that's a great thing, but kind of expected from such a great brand.
Absolutely. I mean, people look for Gyms Electrical. They're calling because they want Gyms Electrical. They're not expecting to be shopped around with 5 different people or an app or whatever. I think the customer quality, I think if they comes to us as a Gyms lead, is far better than what you would get as an independent from lead aggregation, or if you're generating yourself. I just think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, look, we're really lucky. When you look on the database for the new electrical leads that come through, it's about 30 or 40% of those people have used gyms for something else and had a great experience. So that you're never going to get as an independent. You just can't get, Jim's Pool Care or Jim's Antennas or one of the other divisions, obviously mowing. Someone going before you paving the way for a great experience and you coming in on the top of that. So, there's some massive value in that, and that's long term. You get that value every day of the business moving forward, and we try when we have divisional meetings and regional franchise meetings of networking with some of the other divisions, and we know that every day that our 5,500 franchisees are waking up, getting into it. They're trying to represent the brand as well as they can every single day, and that's pretty powerful moving forward for any new franchisee and any new division. That there's lots of people every day.
100%. And what do you think the gym's difference in the market is from a customer service standard? Because you've got a lot of independent guys who would have had their own customer service beliefs and standards before.
Yep.
Now they come to gyms and it's a whole new ball game.
Yeah, that's a good point. And sometimes we do need the first 2 or 3 weeks just to realign what great customer service looks like. And obviously that's still driven by Jim, right? So there's enormous expectation on that. So sometimes we need to have some conversations in the first few weeks just about what's expected. But when we explain why to deliver that level of service, the franchisees will see the revenue straight away. So, I've been in it for nearly 18 years, but there's people before me that have been in it for 30, and they've been doing a good job and servicing levels at really high levels. So repeat business is a beautiful thing.
The great thing about it as well, we've got the call centre based on site here as well with all local people as well.
Love that.
They take the calls, and I think that's a really good benefit too, which we don't highlight enough as well, but I think they've got their own call taker that books the jobs.
Yeah, that is a beautiful thing. Call centre, and you can speak to the girls, and they're all well monitored and well supervised, and Charlene's been heading up that team for a long, long time and been part of that team for even longer. So good experience in there and good support.
And what's the feedback been like from your guys? Because we do have testimonials which you can check out online. They're longer ones. We've got podcasts, we've got Day on the Roads, all these things you can check out. But what's the feedback overall been for some of your guys who've seen maybe come as a struggling independent and a few years down the track?
Yeah, look, the feedback's solid, and so it should be. Yeah. We work pretty hard to make sure that they're well supported, certainly from a communication, diary management, advertising, marketing point of view. But in the background, the other great guy in this business is Miles, my business partner. He's our technical director. He's almost forensic in his electrical knowledge. He is elite, no question. Originally he started his electrical work in the military, so that level of detail and expertise early on in his career, gone on to be a TAFE teacher for 20 plus years in electrical studies, and just all round good guy, and loves being there for the franchisees to ask and answer technical questions.
Yeah, so, I remember meeting him, and all your boys raved about Miles.
Good guy, and he loves taking the calls, talking to the fellas as well, providing the advice. So, that advice and support is available for the guys 7 days a week, whether it's me from a customer service point of view, or advertising and marketing, or Miles from a technical expertise. We think it's a pretty solid platform for any independent or, someone who's working for another business wants to jump on board.
Because people pay a lot of money for business coaches, right? And business coaches are not a lot of business coaches charge, and they're good things to have them, but they're a lot more than the monthly fee. And you get, not only in the monthly fee, you do get a business coach in yourself, but you've got access to all those other franchisees and other business owners, plus Miles, plus all the marketing. I just think, I keep saying it, but it's just it's a no-brainer when you look at it objectively.
Yeah, look, it is. We're pretty proud of where we've got to in the time. It has taken some time. It's a overnight success in 10 years. But we're there from a support point of view, for sure. Look, some of the coaching platforms are solid. There's no question. But we're living it and breathing it every single day with the franchisees. And it's very rare that we see a new problem. Most of the questions we get asked have been asked before, and we've already got a solution. So it doesn't take long. no necessarily have to sit down and watch videos or anything like that. But certainly you can make a phone call or flick me a text and we'll have an answer for you pretty quickly.
And what's kept you with gyms for 17 years? It's a long time to be in business. There's not many people make it to 17 years as a business owner. So.
Look, I think for me, if I drilled it down to the couple of things. So firstly, you don't become a franchisor unless you really like supporting people.
Yeah.
All right. That's the key thing. The money can be good, but supporting guys day in, day out is the thrill. And when a franchisee, upgrades their house or starts going on holidays and you see some changes in lifestyle that are pretty cool, that's really the moment for me that you go, all right, this is really worth it. And we've been able to do that with a lot of guys. The key thing is to just listen, right? Bring a great attitude and great enthusiasm, and we'll help you with everything else. That's the key thing. The other side is, believe it or not, it's really the gym's ethos. When we keep the customer service levels high, the franchisees become so successful, and it's really that simple. So they're the two things for me. Obviously, there's some flexibility in my work-life balance now, which is great. I managed to see all the kids' sports days.
Well, you're very involved in your son and your son's sport or your kids' sport as well. So
yeah,
tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, look, both of the kids have been able to be fairly successful, I guess, in their own sports and doing good things. But good work ethics. It's a bit like the customer service. Good work ethics will achieve good things too. Also involved personally, community at a reasonable level, coaching baseball. And I guess it comes back to just being supportive and part of a bigger group to make things better.
And you have the flexibility to do that sort of stuff, which I think is the point for people to take away.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So it is important, and this is one of the things that we talk to the franchisees about, is to have an interest outside of work. So whether it's footy or cricket or sport or fishing or whatever it is, it's really important that they participate in something outside of work, because if they do that, their work will be great as well, and home life typically follows that. So we do encourage guys to be interested outside of just working.
There you go. So Cam, is there anything else I should have asked you today which I haven't, or?
Don't think so, mate. I think that's covered it. We have absolutely. No, look, it's still a real thrill for us to be part of a gym's business, and growing it and helping other guys be successful. That's the thrill.
Well, I've said it 50 times, but I'm going to say it for the 51st time. It's a no-brainer if you're an independent Sparky to come and do it. It just makes a lot of sense. And if you don't believe us, just check out the interviews online. They're all unedited, and please check them out and inquire. And come on observation day and talk to Cam, because I think if you've got a business where where it's not where it's supposed to be at, it's just a great option. So thank you very much for your time today, Cam.
Our pleasure, Joel. Great to be here.
Awesome.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.